Hey guys, it's Penguin here and welcome back to another gold making video. In today's video, I really want to go in depth and focus on PvP gear. Now, I know many of you are probably thinking, Penguin, what in the world? Why are you just talking about this now? You know, it's the end of week 3. People have already been selling this. The hype is over. But what I really want to showcase is that actually this is still a great opportunity, and depending on your situation, it might be even better now than before, especially if you don't have a lot of gold. So in this video, we're going to be covering the basics, like what in the world is PvP gear, how to obtain it, how to craft it. Then we're going to be talking about a few different methods that you can do to make sure you're making the most gold out of these items. So without further ado, I highly recommend watching this video all the way through, but timestamps are available if you guys need to skip around, and I hope you enjoy. And so to get started, just to make sure we are all on the same page, especially if you're a little bit newer of a crafter, I want to talk about what this gear actually is. The sets that I'm talking about is called Verdant Combatant gear, and this is the Season 3 PvP gear. Essentially, this is just super easy, craftable green BOE gear. However, it has a PvP equipment bonus that's very important for people who want to do arenas and battlegrounds. Assuming you're crafting quality 5, which you guys are going to want to do, this is item level 412. However, in PvP, the item level increases to 463, which is why people really want to buy this item for some great starter PvP items. And in terms of crafting, there's actually 6 different professions tied to this, meaning you have a lot of options, especially as a beginner. Tailoring, of course, crafts cloth gear. You have your leather worker, which crafts mail and leather. Blacksmithing, which crafts plate. Then you have inscription, which crafts 3 different trinkets. Jewel crafting, which covers your necklace and ring. And lastly, you have engineering, which crafts goggles. We'll talk about what's in the most demand in just a little bit, but assuming you have at least one of those 6 professions, you can definitely dive into this market. And so that brings us to actually how to obtain these items, and you have 2 different methods. If you really want to, you can technically go out there, compete in battlegrounds, do arenas, and you have a chance of picking up one of these recipes through the little boxes that you get. However, this comes down to RNG, definitely a lot of time, and you have to do PvP, so I don't necessarily recommend this. Alternatively, what I recommend is just going to your nearest auction house, type in Verdant Combatant, just like that, and boom, you'll be greeted with a bunch of different patterns. And of course, you can buy what you need, and nowadays, of course, it's going to depend on your server, but nowadays a lot of these recipes are cheap. For example, right now I can buy the Wilder Cloth Hood for 500 gold, but the most expensive, if we kind of go down here, as you can see, the Adamant Girdle will cost me 33k. So it really just depends on your server population and the prices at the time. And just a side note, one exception to this rule is actually the inscription trinkets. These are actually purchased from the PvP vendor instead of the little PvP area in Veltraken, and they cost 3 Awakened Ire each. Awakened Ire is going for about 500 gold, so that's about 1500 gold for each of the trinkets, and there's 3 of them. So if you're looking for something really cheap, if your recipes are slightly more expensive, inscription trinkets can be a great one to get right off the bat. But with all of that out of the way, you guys know what gear I'm talking about now, and you guys know how to get it, so let's talk about profit. And at first, I'm just going to show you guys, how simple it is to craft, and then we're going to be really breaking down profits and different methods to make gold later in this video. So bear with me, trust me, this has a purpose. But right now, I am on my leatherworker and my scribe. I've decided to just use the leatherworking for this part of the video. Once again, buy whatever recipes that you like, and let's go to crafting. So once you have these recipes, of course, it depends on prices and everything, but generally these items are pretty cheap, which is why I want to talk about this now. Right now, on average on the NA region, assuming that you're just purchasing the item straight off the auction house, you're not doing any sort of intermediate crafting, the resilient gear, which is the leather gear, costs anywhere between 1500 to 1700 gold each, which I feel like is very, very affordable for a beginner crafter. The adamant is kind of the same. This is the male gear. I would say sometimes it's a little bit more cheaper, I would actually say. Some of it's a little bit more expensive, and we do have a slight wild card. You will notice that right here, this does jump up, and that's simply because somebody reset these items. So right now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend crafting the helmets, just because this reagent is reset. That happens, but on average, every single piece is going to cost you about, 1,600 to 1,700 gold on the leatherworking side. But going into skill and requirements, it's actually really, really simple. You'll see that every single one of these recipes only requires 120 difficulty. Now, of course, I do have maxed out leatherworking with blue tools, but you guys can see that I'm way over hitting the mark, right? I'm at over 300 skill, and you only need 120. So you should be able to hit this really, really easily. Now, the only other second thing that I recommend, especially if you want to max out your profits, is you want to get yourself a resourcefulness tool. Now, actually, for leatherworking, I am kind of a bad example because I personally don't have one in my inventory. As you can see, this is a multi-craft tool with resourcefulness, but if we skip over to inscription real quick, just to give you guys an idea, right now I'm wearing my multi-craft quill, and as you can see, I'm estimating about, 600 profit right there. However, if I change this to my resourcefulness one, which is simply actually a green tool, it's not even blue, but it does have resourcefulness as well as enchanted resourcefulness, this goes up to 760. So right here, that's a 32%. If I re-equip that blue multi-craft, it goes down to 29%. So if you guys really want to min-max, definitely get yourself a resourcefulness tool. At the end of the day, as much resourcefulness as you can get is helpful, but as long as you're making profit, you're good to go. But once you have that, it's pretty simple. Of course, you're going to want to make sure you are actually making profit. If you use Auctionator, it's pretty simple. Just open up the auction house and your menu, then you can search, it will check all of the prices and give you an estimated profit. Now, of course, keep in mind right now, I'm on a medium pop server, so that is why my prices are so high. And for example, there's only 6, male shoulders listed. So yes, my prices are very high, but I definitely sell a lot less than I would on a high pop server. But trust me, we'll get into that in just a second. But this is as simple as going to here. We're just going to craft some for the sake of the video. So all of these seem pretty profitable. So we can just go down the list and we can craft. And I'll just craft a few. And see, look, we're saving some reagents. And boom. So once again, kind of going back, as you guys can see, we actually, saved 2 Infurious Hides. Right now, they're going for 400 gold each, so that's actually 800 gold that we saved off that resourcefulness, which brings our crafting cost basically down to 800 for that item. So that's why resourcefulness is super powerful. Now, of course, we did save some reagents here. It was only the leather, so that's only, less than 7 gold saved. But if you can get that, very valuable item to proc, that's really, really awesome. But once you have the items crafted, it's really as simple as going to the auction house and simply posting them up. But you're probably going to notice that there is some competition, especially on your high pop servers, so let's talk about using TSM. For this quick example, I've just made a new profile because I really want to show you how simple it is to set this up. What I recommend is crafting at least 1 of each. I just crafted 4 for this example, but feel free to craft 1 of everything that you can. Then just create a group, and I'm going to call this Verdant Gear. Feel free to separate it by, armor type, whatever you like, but we're going to keep it simple. After that, you want to make sure that you are grouped by item level. That's going to make sure that it is counting the different qualities, because you don't want to post your quality 5 and undercut like a quality 1, right? You want to make sure you are actually maintaining the correct item level. So change that to item level. And then if you have a lot of stuff in your inventory, like myself, just type in Verdant and those items will show up. You can double check that these are the 412s and you'll see that random stat. That's perfect. You can just select all, move it to group, and beautiful. After that, you can go into operations, create yourself an auctioning operation. Once again, call it what you want, we'll keep it simple. And this is where you have personal preference. personally, you're going to need to be cancel scanning, so I highly recommend setting your duration to 12 hours so you don't waste any sort of posting fees. I like to post 2 at a time. You know, that's personal preference. If you're on a high pop, you might want to only post 1, maybe want to post 3, up to you. And then we have to go to our minimum price. Once again, this comes down to personal preference. It also comes down to your server and how much profit there truly is. But I think a very happy, common min price that people like is 15% profit, which is simply 115% crafting. You know, technically there is an auction house cut. You can make this a little bit more fancy by dividing by 0.95, but we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to keep it simple. Maximum, don't think about it too hard. We'll just put, you know, 500% crafting. Normal price, we'll do 300% crafting. Once again, keep it simple. Don't have to think about it too hard. And there we go. After that's set, all you gotta do is go into TSM, make sure your gear is selected, hit run, and boom. As you can see, I actually set my max price way too low because it's trying to undercut it by a ton, so I would go and up my max price. But there we go, you have created yourself a TSM group. If you guys don't want any more TSM information, feel free to skip on through, but I just want to give you a few more tips. If you guys want to fill out your group without actually having them in your inventory, you can search base group. Once again, have it by item level and then type in Verdant Combatant and it will have everything here. However, you just have to go through and make sure you're actually selecting the 4.12 versions, just like that. Then you can, you know, select the group, move them, and now there's a group. So you can go through base group if you like, but personally, I just kind of, you know, craft one of each, shove them into a group, and you're good to go. Secondly, if you guys want to make a simple crafting operation, because I do restock all of this stuff with TSM, it's actually pretty good. Just override, create a new crafting operation, call it whatever. I like to match my restock quality to either the same amount as my posting or double. So, for example, right now my post cap is 2. I like to kind of have a little bit of a back inventory. So I'm going to set this to 4, just so, you know, if I sell those 2 items, I'm not quickly scrambling to restock. And then I'm going to say, you know, I only want to restock if I've sold at least 1. Once again, it comes down to personal preference. And because my minimum posting value was at 115% crafting, we're going to throw that 15% right here. This means that we need to make 15% crafting as profit. You know, you could set this as 500 gold if you wanted. You could set this at 50% crafting. You might not be able to craft much, but once again, personal preference, and it's really that simple. All you have to do is go into the TSM menu. Let me remove the previous restock. Click here, click on your gear, hit restock, and boom. Some of these numbers might be looking weird, but it's because I have these crafted on other characters, but it's really that simple. And if I were to go through with this, because of prices on my server, it's going to cost me about 36k or so, and my estimated profit is 143,000. So yeah, that is kind of all of the beginner stuff out of the way. You guys now know what this gear is, how to obtain it, how to craft it, how to restock and post with TSM, so now we can get into the nitty-gritty. And this is where personal preference is going to come to play, and if you guys do have multiple accounts, this is going to be very helpful, or try to find a really nice friend or guildmate. And what we're going to be talking about is server opportunity. Like I said, I play on a very medium pop server. It's a medium to low pop server, which is why my prices look like this. But also, I don't have a lot of buyers. I generally sell, you know, a handful of sets per day, and that's pretty nice because if my crafting cost is 1,700 gold, I am bringing in, you know, like 13,000 gold profit per piece, so it adds up. But let's say I want to expand out of here. And this is where going to different servers is really awesome. For example, I am going to pull up my second account right here, make it a little bit bigger, and this is actually a full pop server. And as you guys can see, my sales look quite a bit different. This is just from today, and I have to admit I've only been playing actively for about probably an hour and a half today, just due to work and school, and as you can see, I have 157 sold items. Now granted, you guys can see the profit is much, much lower. If we look at, for example, this resilient boots right here, if our average crafting cost is 1700 gold, this is only about 500 gold profit right here. But, I might be selling multiple of those boots per day instead of just selling one. And so this is where personal preference comes into play. And if you have multiple accounts, this is where spreading it to multiple realms is awesome. For example, on my main realm, I might sell 2 sets of gear, beautiful, but then I also sell all of this, and the profit adds up significantly. And if we take a look right here, I've been recording for 28 minutes, so a lot of these, these past 4 sales, I haven't even undercut or anything. A lot of this is actually, a lot of this is in fact undercut. And I still got some sales, which is really, really great. So let me show you guys how you can actually find these servers. And so right here, I've pulled up a website called undermine.exchange, and this is basically a virtual auction house on the internet. And I love this for looking at all of the different server prices without having to physically log on and off. And with this website, we also are going to take a look at Raider.io realms list. And so first things first, what you're going to want to ask yourself is, okay, do I want to go onto a high pop server where I'm going to have a lot of sales, but a lot of competition and lower prices? Or do I want a medium/low pop server where margins are going to be a lot higher, but I'm only going to sell a few items, but I can also kind of, post one day and forget about it because of lower competition? And there's really not a right or wrong answer, and honestly, kind of a mix of both is pretty nice. But let's just say you want to go for that high population, so what you can do is go onto here and check out the different server pops. So let's say you wanted to go onto the most populated server, which is Area 52 for NA. What you can do is go over to the Undermine journal, look up Area 52, and then type in Verdant Combatant gear. After it loads, you are greeted with all of the different prices, and now you can kind of go through and check what you want. For this example, I'm actually going to be focusing on the signet, which is right here, as well as the amulet, because these are the highest in-demand items, but you'll also see that they're generally the cheapest because everybody's crafting them. But that's what I'm going to focus for this video. So if I go over to my crafter, which is right here, and we go and check prices for these rings. As you guys can see, with current estimated prices, the amulet cost me about 400 gold to craft, and the signet is basically the exact same. And so now we can compare this to whatever is on the auction house. So crafting cost is about 400 gold. If we check Undermine journal, as you can see, the signet's going for 680 and the amulet's going for 800. So depending on, how you think about those profit margins, you can say, that's good or that's bad. If you wanted to actually simulate prices, let's go with that 684. If we go actually into our crafting menu, you can do a price override and do it on this quality 5 item. And the price was 684 gold, hit save, and boom, our profit updated. So right now, according to that Area 52 price, we'll be bringing in 285 gold profit, which is a 72% profit margin. Now, of course, you would have to sell, 10 rings to make 2.8k profit, so that's a lot of rings, but it's just something to look at to see if you like it. But let's say you're not very happy with that, what you can do is just move down the realm list. So next up, we have Storm Rage, the second highest population, and what you can actually do is just click on the signet and scroll down and look right here to compare all of the different realms. And if we scroll down to S, Storm Rage, okay, 400 gold, you know what? We're gonna skip that one. Moving on, we have Illidan, and you guys get the trend here. Illidan right now is actually at 900, so Illidan might be the move to go to. You guys can also go back, check the amulet, go down here, check out Illidan, and it's 500. So okay, the amulet's not that great, but the signet is, and that's something you can just decide. But, you know, let's do it the opposite way. Let's say you're looking through this, you sort by profit, and you see, okay, Hydrol selling for 6.5. I like that. Let's look up Hydrol. You can either like scroll through this list or just use the find on Chrome. And as you can see, Hydrol is definitely a low population realm. So that profit's high, but you're dealing with some really slow sales, so it just comes down to personal preference. And that's how you find the server of your dreams. And yeah, that's really how you can go about finding servers. You can also just pick a random server. If you like Illidan because it's Illidan, feel free to try to go there. Just be mindful of profits and your crafting values. But let's say you find a server. This is where the second account or a friend comes to play. Right here, the small screen that you see is Area 52. The big screen is my main character, and all you have to do is invite each other to a party. So I am going to invite myself. And of course, accept. And then you guys will be able to trade. So once again, you can either do this with yourself with a second account or do it with a friend or guildie, but you will need to trade the person, and you can just trade back and forth items. On this character, I have 3 leftover amulets, so we can just send this over to Area 52, hit accept, hit trade, boom. That's probably the most annoying thing, that you have to trade 6 items at a time, but actually it's really not that bad. You get really used to the clicks, and it's pretty fast to do. But as a little experiment, yesterday I started restocking rings and everything on this character, shoving it to Area 52. I check every hour or so to, you know, cancel scan because this is a high pop server, and some other random items have gotten through here. You know, I have some like gauntlets and stuff, but as you can see, these are basically all amulets and signets. If we remove all of the other items, right here we have 58 rings and necklaces. But once again, we have to be mindful of profit. Yes, technically this is 36,000. 36,000 is nothing crazy. This is probably only about 16,000 gold of profit, but it's something, especially if you're a beginner. And keep in mind, this is just rings and necklaces. So imagine, you know, also selling gauntlets, leggings, capes, etc. And if we go to the auction house, you can actually see some sales right here as I was recording. I actually got this legging sales, you know, 4 minutes ago, which is pretty nice. But all I have to do is, as you can see, I actually have sold out of rings. So what I like to do, since I don't really babysit the server, I just post up 5, let them post. You know, there are mine down there, so I just like to post up 5 again. And we'll see if they sell. Once again, this is just a test server, and I'll throw some screenshots of other servers I've tested. I've been on Dalaran, I've been on Ragnaros, I've been on Illidan, I've been on Mal'Ganis, I've been on Stormrage, and a lot of them have perks for different items, and if you just trade in bulk, it's a really great way to make gold. There is a little bit of a bug going on with your items actually getting, you know, posted under people, or somebody can just be posting really fast after you. So I can just post 3 more right here. There we go, they're actually on the front now. Perfect and sweet. You know, I can run a cancel scan if I want. As you can see, yeah, this stuff is buried, but that's kind of it. This 1.2 million gold here is purely profit off of this Verdant Combatant stuff, so it's something that you can definitely get into. Is it going to make you super, super rich in one day? Maybe not, but who knows? You might hit a jackpot on a specific server that nobody is really paying attention to, and it can just be a great way to make gold. Hey guys, this is Editing Penguin stopping by real quick because I forgot to actually add this in the video. But for the people who are looking to actually buy these recipes and are wondering about demand, I've created myself a little list. This is based on my personal experience. Some of these might be able to switch spots, but in general, your rings and your necklaces are going to have the highest demand. Keep in mind, they also are going to have the highest competition, followed by trinkets and capes. Sometimes trinkets might have even more competition than rings and necklaces because those trinkets are vendor recipes, but still necks, rings, trinkets, and capes are going to be very, very competitive, but also, you know, everybody needs a ring, everybody needs a necklace, etc. In terms of armor, plate and leather generally perform the best, followed by mail and cloth, and then lastly you have goggles. I gotta be honest, I don't even restock goggles at the moment. I probably should to, maximize my profits, but I kind of forget about them. Who knows, maybe they do actually really great, but I would put those at the bottom. So that's kind of my tier list if you kind of want to prioritize recipes. So I hope that helps, and let's continue. But yeah guys, that is kind of it for this video. I know this is a little bit of a longer video. I could have just said, hey, this gear is good, craft it, boom, sell it. But I really wanted to dive deep into different things that you can do and just show you that profit is everywhere. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people are going to say, Penguin, I'm not going to do this just for a 300 gold profit per ring, and that's completely understandable. I definitely personally go for the realms with the higher profit margins, and I recommend you do so as well. But, if you want to go for volume, you can definitely go to the higher pops as well. And another thing that I want to mention is that profit, crafting values, items being sold, they always change in price. Just a few days ago, rings were going for 1,000 to 2,000 gold, and as you can see, they were going for like 600 to 800. But sometimes people come along and reset them, etc. So even if something is not so good now, definitely check back. I like to say this a lot, but it's true. Obsidian Combatant gear, which was the 10.1 version of the 10.2 gear, I sold Obsidian gear up to 3 days before 10.2 launch. So once again, right now people are definitely focused on this gear. So let's say it's just completely unprofitable for you right now and you can't go to a different server. Check back in a month, check back in 2 months, check back in a week, and I promise you, you'll be able to find some profit. But yeah guys, if you are selling PvP gear now after all of the hype, let me know how it is. Competition is high on some servers, but profit margins are also high on others. So whether you can bring in an extra 10k gold a day or 100k a day, I hope it's helpful. But everybody, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.